Welcome into Point Blank, brought to you by Fitz Roofing. I'm Brandon Strange with ESPN Houston's Joel Blank with the press box. Joel, welcome in. Let's talk about some Rockets because we saw a dominant performance by the Rockets in Game 1 over the Thunder. Let me just get right into it. Are the Rockets this much better than the Thunder?
I don't know that they're that much better than the Thunder based on the seedings and everything that you're seeing, but what I am thinking is they've gotten their act together on both ends of the floor and utilized their time in the bubble better than most teams. Oklahoma City looked terrible. They couldn't make a shot. But as I told you guys here on Sports Map, and I've said on my radio program, the Rockets can beat anybody in the league on a game-by-game basis. Can they do it consistently throughout a series? That's what we're going to wait to find out. But the big key to me was the Rockets played defense, and they played defense well. They rotated. They were able to contest shots on the perimeter. They were able to use a bunch of guys in the lane to overcome the size difference with Steven Adams, and they played a complete basketball game. That's what you have to see from this team night in, night out. They did it for one night. Can they do it for an entire series?
What we saw in Game 1 seemed to be indicative of what we've seen in Rockets teams past, where they do take their defense up another level. Another thing that tends to happen in the playoffs is Eric Gordon, taking it to a whole other level. Eric Gordon looked lost for most of the season and during the seeding games, but playoff Eric Gordon showed up and balled out in Game 1. How dramatically does it shift the balance of power in the West if the Rockets can have a true big three?
No question. If Eric Gordon is a contributor, and when we were doing predictions for the series, my X factors were Eric Gordon for the Rockets and Steven Adams for the Thunder. Steven Adams did nothing, and Eric Gordon was everything the Rockets needed, especially with Russell Westbrook out. Now, the big knock on Eric Gordon, just like on the Rockets, is consistency. Eric Gordon can score 50 in Utah and then go 0 for the next game. If he comes back and he can consistently give you, and he doesn't have to give you as much as he gave you last night when Westbrook gets back, but if he can consistently give you double figures and he's a threat from the outside, that makes defenses have to honor him. That gives more room to drive for Westbrook, more open shots for Harden, and a better chance for the Rockets to go deep into this Western Conference. And the Rockets playing as good as they're playing, when you see teams like the number one seeds on both sides lose their opening game, the Bucks and the Lakers, when you see the Clippers struggle and maybe only beat Dallas because Porzingis got thrown out, you have to believe the Rockets have a legitimate puncher's chance to go very, very far in the Western Conference playoffs, which is what everybody in Houston really wants to see.
Joel, we saw something from D'Antoni that we haven't seen really throughout his entire tenure here with the Rockets in the playoffs. Let's talk about that in a second. Before we do that, let's get a word from our sponsors at Fitz Roofing.
Yeah, Fitz Roofing is great. And if you guys have any kind of roof repairs for your house or your business, or you're thinking about a new roof on your house or business, there's only one place to call. It's Fitz Roofing. And they do free, no-obligation inspections today. 832-521-3001. You call them. They come to you. They tell you what they can do. If you want them to come back, they will. Best warranties and best products in the business. It's Fitz Roofing, making a difference one home at a time.
D'Antoni went 8 deep in Game 1. That's not his normal MO. Is this indicative that he has a deeper belief in this bench?
It really is. Mike D'Antoni coaches on trust, and that's why we've seen in the past guys with as much talent as Montrezl Harrell never got off the bench because D'Antoni couldn't trust him. Well, now he's actually said going into the playoffs he would be open to a bigger bench and a longer rotation, and he's lived up to it in Game 1, and he got the results when he did. He put his trust on the line, and the Rockets lived up to what they were supposed to do so that he can trust further. Ben McLemore was fantastic in his first ever playoff game. Daniel House was better than last year, and that's saying something. But he wasn't great last year. At least you got to hope he can continue to do that. But overall, even when Austin Rivers came in, he was doing his part. Everybody plays their role. They don't try to do too much, but they do enough when they're in there so that when Harden can get some rest and comes back in, he's fresh. They continue to click. And Jeff Green, what can you say about him? I've been saying for years this was the perfect fit for this team. And boy, is he making me look good because he's a guy that has length and size and can shoot the three. And when you got a guy 6'9" bringing the ball up the floor, that causes problems for defenses. If Jeff Green can be that consistent, look out for this Rockets team.
No, absolutely. The additions of Covington and Green, gigantic, can't be understated what big moves those were for Daryl Morey. So now that the Rockets do have that depth, should they rush back Russell Westbrook? Should Westbrook make an attempt to get back ASAP, or do they have a little bit of padding to be able to ease him back in?
They really do. They have padding. I think that everybody thought this was going to be the most competitive and compelling series in the first round. And so after game one, it gave the Rockets a huge cushion to believe that not only do they have to worry yet, but they can actually relax a little bit. And that means Russ can wait. They don't need him for game two. And if they would pull out game two, I would sit him in game three until he's 100, 110%. Because as long as you're going to win your first round series and you know that the other teams in the West are struggling to get through their playoff series, you have time. I wouldn't worry about Westbrook until you were even or you were down a game in the series. And I really believe that. I believe as long as OKC doesn't get to even, you don't have to bring Russ back. If they do, now you got to have him, because now anything can change the balance of a series, a call, a play, and that's where you need Russ on the floor. But until it gets to even, I'm not worried about Russell Westbrook, because the Rockets are doing just fine without him.